Bonsoir, bonsoir chers amis, bonsoir chers leaders du district, bonsoir chers leaders du district 130. Euh, nous, au nom de l'équipe TLI, je suis heureux de vous souhaiter la bienvenue à notre deuxième master class. L'idée qui irrigue les programmes TLI est très simple. Nous aider à tirer le meilleur parti de notre formation. J'espère que la traduction marche bien. Tout ce master doit nous aider à progresser dans nos clubs, mais aussi à développer des compétences que nous pouvons utiliser dans notre vie professionnelle, dans nos projets, mais aussi au sein de notre communauté. C'est toute la mission de nos masterclass. Chaque mois, nous souhaitons vous proposer un rendez-vous autour d'une compétence concrète avec des intervenants qui ne viennent pas seulement partager des connaissances, mais surtout des outils, des méthodes et leur expérience. Ce soir encore, c'est exactement ce que nous vous proposons à travers le thème devenir consultant ou formateur professionnel, structurer votre offre et trouver ses premiers clients. Chers amis, à présent, j'ai le plaisir de vous présenter notre modérateur du jour. Il est un visage familier au sein de la communauté Toastmaster, professionnel de l'hygiène, de la sécurité et de l'environnement dans le secteur des télécommunications au Cameroun. Il cultive en parallèle une véritable passion pour la prise de la parole, le leadership et le partage. Coach en prise de la parole et conférencier, il fait de Toastmaster un véritable terrain d'engagement. Il a déjà été président de club, il est actuellement directeur de secteur 38 au sein de la division H. Mais ce qui le caractérise, c'est aussi son engagement qui dépasse les frontières de son club et même du district. Hier encore, il mettait son expertise au service du district 94 en contribuant à l'interprétation des réunions en ligne. Déterminissage, je peux partager son contact. C'est donc avec grand plaisir que je vous invite à accueillir celui qui va nous accompagner et conduire nos échanges ce soir. Bienvenue DS Thierry Lobé, à vous le micro et le vitrain virtuel.
Merci infiniment, TLI Chair DTM Hassan. Merci pour cette présentation. J'espère qu'on m'entend bien. Si vous m'entendez, faites juste quelques signes. Merci infiniment. Je suis très heureux de vous retrouver ce soir pour cette deuxième masterclass. Et comme le DTM Hassan le disait, le TLI Chair, nous voulons transformer ce que nous apprenons à Toastmaster en des compétences utilisables, des compétences qui nous aident dans notre vie quotidienne. Et justement, ce soir, on va voir, parce que beaucoup de gens souvent se posent la question de savoir, mais qu'est-ce qui se passe concrètement? On vient chez Toastmaster, on prend des rôles, on est TLI chair, on est directeur de secteur, on a des concours, on acquiert des compétences. Mais concrètement, comment est-ce qu'on peut transformer ces compétences-là en argent? And this is what we're going to be talking about tonight. I don't, I don't know whether there is another microphone that is open. I can hear an echo. If your microphone is on, can you please put it off? Because, all right, thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Il y avait un écho qui n'était pas très agréable. Thank you so much. So tonight we're going to be learning, something very important, how to become a consultant and or a professional trainer, and how to structure your offer, how to structure your business, and how to have your first customers, people that are able to pay for your services. And for that, we have the cream of the crop to train us tonight, this evening on this topic. I've had the privilege of meeting him. You know, we are Toastmasters, so we have the opportunity to meet on several platforms. And it's not the first time we meet on a platform. The trainer that we're going to have tonight, he's been a Toastmaster for 13 years, since 2013. DTM Winston Ekpotu is a management consultant, a professional trainer. So we're going to discover that tonight. He's a professional trainer and also an organizational development specialist. He is the managing partner of a company called Bridgestone and Partners, and is a board member of the Leadership and Innovation Academy, where he supports strategy, leadership development, and capacity building initiatives for public and private sector organizations. So he has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to capacity building and also to leadership and training. On the educational part, he holds a master's degree in chemical engineering. He also has an MBA in leadership and sustainability. I love sustainability. I'm also learning ESG and sustainability. Not only that, he's really passionate about learning, so much so that right now he's pursuing a doctorate of business administration. As I said, he has been a Toastmaster for 13 years, since 2013. He has served at the club as the club level, area level, division level, and district levels, and drawing on his experience building as a consultant in practice consultancy and developing client-focused learning programs. He helps professionals. He's going to help us tonight to transform their knowledge, what they get, the knowledge they get and experience into valuable services that clients, you know, when we do this and it's about money. So when we do this, it's money, right? Money. So they are able to turn their knowledge and experience into valuable services that client can pay for. So tonight we're going to learn about it. Can you please, with a big round of applause, with heart and with emojis, can you please warmly welcome DTM Winston Ekpotu? We're going to learn a lot tonight. Please take your notebook, take a pen, be ready to note down, take your tracking shoes and run with us. We're going to learn a great deal tonight, and you're going to be able to make some money with the knowledge you get tonight. DTM Winston, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Moderator Thierry. Pleasure seeing you again, and good evening to District 130. I hope we can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Awesome.
Yes, we can hear you.
And there's a translator.
Indeed.
Great, because my French is not good at all. It's a pleasure being here, everyone, and good evening to all. And for those of us in Canada, I'd say good afternoon. I hope we are having a very good time. I listened to the introduction, and one of you can help us with muting everyone. It would be nice. Great, thank you very much. So it's a pleasure being here, and this evening we're going to be talking about how to become a professional trainer and a consultant. And when the TLI chair asked me to do this in 30 minutes, it scared me, because I don't know how to compress what I've been doing for the last 8 years into 30 minutes. But what I hope to achieve in the first half or less of the session this evening is to have us find answers to 5 questions. And I believe that if we have answers to these 5 questions, we will be in a very good space to begin making money. Because most of us have been in Toastmasters for too long. We have it started off as a hobby for some of us, and it has transitioned into a profession. And if you continue just attending meetings and you're not drawing any value from it, at some point it may become a bit of a burden to you and to the people around you. So these are the 5 questions that I believe we will be able to answer. Some of us on the call may already have found answers to these questions, and there are some of us as well that I believe will find answers as we go along. So what are the 5 questions? The first question we will be answering today is, what do I know? Beyond the number of speeches you've delivered, the several teams you have led, the committees you have been part of, there are certain things we've learned. But some of us may not have been able to actually itemize those things and put them in a way that is of value. So the knowledge, we would need to understand what are some of the things that we know. And then the second question will be, who can I help with what I know? Who can I help with what I know? If you have any value and you have not been able to offer that to someone in exchange for payment, then you can't say you are a consultant or a professional trainer. Now, even when you've identified who that skill can help, the third question we need to ask is, what problem are we solving? What problem are we solving? It's one thing for you to become a champion of public speaking. When people hire you to come talk to them, they're not paying a champion of public speaking. They're not paying a champion of the humorous speech contest. They are looking for a solution. They are looking for something that you have. So how are you solving a problem? Now, when you've identified what you know, who you can help, the problem you can solve, the next question you need to ask yourself is, how can I structure or communicate the solution in a way that it resonates with the person that you want to offer that value to? And then finally, who would I speak to first? Who am I going to talk to in an attempt to sell the value that I have? So the first question I have, what do I know? How many of us on the call believe that you have gained knowledge, you have gained experience that could help another person or an organization perform better? I'd like to see some emojis on the screen. I can't read the chat, but yeah, I could. Someone raised his hand. Lawrence, okay. So who would like to share?
If I may,
Please go ahead,
can
sir.
I go ahead? Yeah, good evening, distinguished Toastmaster Winston. This is Oluwatosin from Phoenix Toastmasters Club. So by training, I'm a nutritionist, right? And meaning that whenever I get to have conversations with people, specifically organizations, I help to bring nutrition lens into what they do. So I'll give you an instance if I can. Okay. Is that fine, or can I still continue?
Go ahead.
Yes. So take for instance now at the workplace, one of the few things that many organizations are pushing for, right, is about the nutritional welfare of the workforce. Now we know that women, most specifically, right, one of the transformations that we've seen in the workplace is how that some organizations are now creating space where women, specifically nursing mothers, can now breastfeed their babies. And this is on the basis of exclusive breastfeeding, one of the few things that we push as nutritionists that babies within the ages of maybe 0 to 6 months are supposed to be exclusively breastfed, meaning that you're not supposed to give them anything aside breast milk, right? Because of their health. So that is one of the nutrition lens that I as a person, as a nutritionist, bring to organizations to ensure that, the health of the mother and the child can be optimized. So yeah, I don't know if that
All right,
makes
thank you
sense.
very much. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. We'll talk about that later. I think another person has his hand up. I'll take the second one and then we will proceed. Ayuba, yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Trainer. I'm very happy to be with you. So I have been Toastmasters since 2022. So what I have learned is the team building knowledge. Because when I have validated my project about team building, I have really appreciated this specific skill. And after that, I had the opportunity to have a certification on how to build, how to conduct a team building. And now I'm in my spare time, I'm a team builder. So I really appreciate it. I really appreciate that.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm glad to hear that, and we will come back to Oluwatosin's contributions later on when we have our Q&A. But I think from what has been said, it is clear from the last speaker's contribution that he has gained something from the Toastmasters program. There are several competencies that we get to learn from Toastmasters. I was able to identify these 6, which could be of value to the market if you're able to have a connection between these skills and the market. Now, Toastmasters provides a foundation for us to learn how to communicate effectively, to learn how to facilitate learning for those of us who have taken sessions in our clubs as trainers or who have been part of club officers training as trainers. So you get to learn how to facilitate. Those of us who had to lead teams or you've served as a club officer, you get to learn leadership and people management. You've been the club vice president education. You get to learn how to plan meetings and how to execute them. And for those of us who've gone around conferences and clubs, you've been meeting people, you've been attending to these conferences, you've learned how to build professional relationships and network. Now, these are the foundational skills that Toastmasters provides. As a member, you get to learn these. However, you now need to further develop them into something that will be of value, because knowing these things alone and having these competencies cannot make you a consultant, cannot make you a professional trainer until you have been able to meet the needs of an organization or an individual and value has exchanged hands. I use the word value very carefully here because some people it could be money and some people it could be something worth more than money. Whatever the case, it still boils down to this thing. There should be exchange of value. We should learn how to convert our competencies into a solution to either someone or an organization. I'm going to highlight 3 examples of some of the critical skills that we learn, or the critical competencies we learn within Toastmasters, and how they could be of value to an organization. And then we can use that to tie in to see how some of us who have been around for some time can begin to, beyond identifying what you know and what you are good at, what people come to you for, what are some of the things that members of your club, when they think of that problem, you are the one that comes to mind. Members of your community or even at work, when they think of that problem, you are the one that comes to mind. In some cases, people don't even know the value that they carry. Now, another thing I would say here before I proceed is that some people use the word consultant and a professional trainer interchangeably. So they assume that they are both the same. But that is not really the case. A professional trainer knows how to transfer knowledge from or help people gain knowledge by communicating and organizing the workshop. The consultant, on the other hand, is the person who helps people diagnose their problems and sometimes helps people think through the solution, conceptualizes the solution, and then helps them to work through the solution. So you could have some people as consultants who can actually function as trainers. And in some cases, they could be different persons. So at the end of the day, you will decide which one you want to use. The green card is up, so I will proceed. Now let's look at what you learn when you know how to give constructive feedback and how does this relate to the corporate world. So many organizations have issues around poor performance. And if you've learned how to give Toastmasters, you have learned how to give feedback within a Toastmasters club, constructive feedback using the CRC method, you realize that that is a valuable skill when you go to the marketplace, when you hear clients complaining about poor performance, and sometimes poor performance could be improved if the managers know how to give constructive feedback to their subordinates. I've also had instances with so many organizations where the staff complain of the fear of speaking up because they are afraid to make mistakes. Learning how to give constructive feedback is a skill, it's a competence. And when you take that to the marketplace, you help people, an organization build what is known as psychological safety. And organizations are willing to pay a premium because most of them are losing members of staff, good hands, because they are unable to provide a safe environment for people to make mistakes and receive constructive feedback. So if you've ever won an evaluations contest in your club, then you need to start asking yourself, how can I use that competence of giving feedback to help an organization build an environment or a culture that is safe, to help the poor performers improve their performance with constructive feedback. In the same vein, we also have organizations that are going through transitions in their workforce. Some 3 years ago, a major organization in where I live had a challenge. They found that they had an aging workforce and the younger cadre of staff did not have the critical competencies that the older ones had. And there was a need to set up a mentorship program for that within that organization. So you can imagine if you have successfully served as a mentor or a coach of a club of individuals, you have developed the competence to go out there and help organizations that are going through such workforce transitions. Organizations that are engaging new members of staff. There is a need for a what's the word to use now? There's a need for a structured mentoring program. That's the right word. And Toastmasters can help these organizations develop that. A third example, with these two examples, I believe we are already thinking of how what we know can be of help or can provide a solution to some persons. I've mentioned the difference between a trainer and a consultant and the fact that you can decide to do both. In my view and from my experience, I've found that anyone who served as an area director, who's had to go conduct the moments of truth in any club, can very well function as a consultant. If you've served as a club president, where you've been able to execute your club success plan, you've led people in developing that document, and you have led a club to success, you will have an understanding of what could work within the team and what is not working in the team, and you could provide solutions to help a low-performing team to understand what the challenges are and begin working on them. And if you've ever, like I said before, served as a trainer in any of the club officers trainings, you have a good understanding of how to pass knowledge. Now, if you've ever won a speech contest or you've emerged as the best speaker within your club meetings, you may, I use the word may very carefully, because sometimes within Toastmasters, you're applauded even when you make a mistake. But if you don't go back to look through the recommendations to improve, you don't want to appear before a board or before paid clients and you're making mistakes. Trust me, they won't applaud you. The feedback you would receive is that you will not get called a second time. So it is extremely important that even as we develop ourselves within our clubs, we should not get too comfortable. Another advice I usually give Toastmasters is take up speaking engagements and opportunities outside your club meeting, because you could get very comfortable within or with members of your club. And when you step outside to a different audience, trepidation sets in. So these are things that we need to be very, very particular about. Now, the next question you want to ask yourself is who could benefit? And this is where we start moving from the competencies and taking them to the market. And we have to be mindful here of who your buyer is, who your customer is, and who the beneficiary of your training will be, because that will determine how you sell that competence. Large organizations constantly, they're looking for ways to improve sales. They're looking for ways to improve performance within the organization. So definitely there is a market there. But you need to also find what it is you are particularly good at. If people cannot associate you with a critical competence, it may be difficult for them to recognize what you have if you are known to be someone who has everything or who is doing everything. I'm the managing partner at Britton and Partners. The kinds of trainings and engagements we carry out with Britton and Partners, they are bespoke, they are unique to that organization. So when people think of a certain competence, Britton and Partners comes to mind. There is a reason why we don't advertise some kinds of services. We have a different vehicle that does that. Even though I may be the one delivering that service, but it is distinct and unique to that organization. Because when you are trying to be everything to everyone, you may end up struggling with your identity. So it's important that you also understand what you carry, and then you know who needs your service. The buyers could be the chief executive or the decision makers of the organization, but they may not be the beneficiaries of the service. They could engage you to help them develop the competencies of their team members. So you also want to find within your space, are there organizations that are also going through transitions? They may be people that could benefit from your competence as an experienced mentor within Toastmasters. You could help them set up a mentoring program within their organization. Though it sounds easy, I want to say that competence is not enough. The profession of consulting and training is somewhat analogous to being an engineer being a lawyer. It means that there is a required training that you need to undergo. You could have the competence, but if you don't have a good understanding of the market, you will struggle. When I decided to start off a consulting firm, I had just completed my second term as division director. And I thought I had all the skills. I could do trainings, I could help teams perform better. I didn't do too badly as a division director. I mean, I was asked to repeat the class, so it helped me gain some more competence. But it took me over 2 years to get my first client as a consultant. Had an office, had meetings, sending out proposals, going around doing things, but it took 2 years because competence is not enough. You need to learn the practice. And I found that there are 2 ways you could learn: the hard way or the harder way.
En anglais,
There is no easy way out.
les
It's
classes.
either the hard way or the harder way. The hard way is what I define as guided apprenticeship. This is where you'll get to attach yourself or find yourself a mentor who understands that business within where you intend to operate. This is where you get someone who will help you understand how clients identify their needs, what their buying process is like, how to even price your service. Most importantly, you also learn.
Did you do anything about this for this? I'm saying
You also learn the local environment. Now, this is the hard way. But if you feel, nah, I don't need to have a mentor, I don't need to learn from someone, then you can take the harder route. The harder way is where you launch into the field yourself and you learn as you go along. So here you research, you experiment, you make mistakes. However, the process could be slower because the experience could be very expensive. We've had cases, and I've seen that in my city, where people start up a consulting firm and they start typing up proposals, making very beautiful profiles, and they go around offices submitting them, and you don't get called. That's because the client's buying process for the kind of service you want to offer is different from the person who is selling a tangible asset. And even when you have identified your competence, how you package the competence and how you approach a buyer is unique to that competence. If you want to sell a service directly to the beneficiaries, the approach is different from when you're trying to engage a decision maker to take a decision to enable his or her organization perform better. You can only learn that either through guided apprenticeship or trial and error. You could try and keep trying for years and you keep struggling. Now, once you've been able to identify who it is you're going to patch yourself with or who's going to guide you, then we can start talking about the next steps, which are in finding what your competence is, knowing the problem that you want to solve, identifying an audience, and beginning a conversation. I believe very strongly in putting into practice what it is you learn. And so the day you make up your mind that you want to go into this, what I would say is give yourself what I call the 72-hour challenge, where you look through your contacts and identify 5 persons that you feel you can approach, people that you feel you can solve a problem or they can connect you to where you can offer a solution. And begin having conversations with them to even know whether the way you have framed your solution in your mind is how it will be received, or if you're going to draw value from them. So you have to test your competence and your problem with the audience. And if you have a mentor or you have someone who is guiding you, you go back and have conversations with that person and you keep refining until you have the right value proposition. Once you've done this refining several times, you will now learn how to effectively structure and communicate your solution with the outcome and the intervention in mind. Because like I said earlier, you may be a champion of humorous speaking, but when people are hiring you, they are not engaging your plaque or the relics that you would have gotten as a champion of public speaking. It's the solution they are after. So how would you put that solution out there in a way that people can benefit from? I think I even wrote an example here as a champion of public speaking from your club. You've learned how to deliver your points or a message or a story with clarity, with precision, in some cases with humor. Now that's a skill that an executive who's struggling with being uptight, who's finding it difficult to connect with his or her team members, that's a skill they could learn. So rather than positioning yourself as a champion of public speaking or as a great public speaker, you could position yourself as someone who can help executives communicate complex and sensitive ideas clearly in a relaxed atmosphere whilst engaging with stakeholders. And when you frame it that way, you are able to get someone to find interest in what it is you have to offer. So my charge to us is to ask ourselves and to fill up this using this statement I have here. I help these kinds of person address this problem so they can achieve this outcome, and I do that by offering this service. If it is not as simple as that, it will be very difficult for you to explain it in a way or to sell that service to someone and get people to procure that service or exchange value for that. My final thoughts to us as I wrap this up. We've all gained competencies. If you've been in Toastmasters, you've learned, you've had experience, you've had knowledge. Now we need to structure our solutions. We need to identify a specific audience that will benefit from the solution or the knowledge or the experiences that you have. You also need to identify a meaningful problem that you want to solve, and you need to begin having conversations in order to exchange these for value. This is a good place to pause, and then we will take questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much, DTM Winston. Thank you so much for this insightful presentation. We didn't want to interrupt you during your presentation, but we apparently had some issues with the French translation. I don't know, some people were able to listen to the translation, other people were not able to get the translation, but hopefully that was what was pretty good, was that your presentation was both in French and English. So this is the time for us to get questions. Nous sommes arrivés au moment de poser des questions. Et donc, nous prenons les questions pour le DTM Winston. Le contenu a été très, très, très enrichissant. Je vais revenir sur deux ou trois choses qui m'ont marqué pendant qu'il faisait sa présentation. L'une des premières choses qui m'a marqué, c'est qu'il a dit que on ne vous paye pas parce que vous êtes champion de discours, on vous paye parce que vous apportez une solution à un problème. Vous êtes capable d'apporter une solution à un problème, c'est pour ça qu'on vous paye. Chez Toastmaster, on est bienveillant dans nos évaluations. On peut dire des choses qui sont très intéressantes, qui sont bienveillantes, mais lorsque vous entrez en contact avec une entreprise qui a besoin de résoudre un problème, il faut que vous soyez en mesure de résoudre ce problème en question. Il est donc question pour vous de convertir vos compétences en solutions. Et il a parlé également du challenge des 72 heures. So I was a little bit, pointing out certain aspects of your presentation. One of the things that really touched me was that you say that people are not paying you as a public speaker or as a public speaking champion, but they are looking for a solution to a problem. This is one of the things you said. So, do we have questions? Est-ce qu'on a des questions, s'il vous plaît? On veut bien prendre des questions pour le DTM. I have a question here, sir. You were talking about money. You were talking about turning your knowledge into money. How can you really monetize? How can you give a fee to the service that you are offering to somebody? You mentioned the fact of the knowledge that you have, turning the knowledge into a competency, into knowledge that you share, and you provide a solution to people. But sometimes people have difficulties putting a figure to the service that they're offering. Can you give us some tips on that?
Yeah, thank you very much. So I think that's why I mentioned very specifically the fact that you need to have what I call the guided apprenticeship, because the environments are different, the sectors are different. I could give an advice based off on the sector that I know very well. But if you apply that in a different space to a different set of audience, you may not get the results. So it's always best to ask people. That's why part of the things I wrote there is the local knowledge. So it's someone who is operating within that space someone operating within that space will be the best person to advise you on what the pricing will be like. Or
Okay.
you could have some organized or some industries where things are pretty standard. And now that will depend on the level of experience. You go on some websites of some training organizations, some global training organizations, and you have the prices there and they're standard. A particular amount in Naira or in dollars or in CFA. And if you know that you can offer a service that is commensurate, that is measurable with those organizations, then you can put your price around the same level. So why I'm saying all of these is I don't want to say this is how much you should charge or for teaching someone how to speak in public. And when you go engaging someone and the person says, I cannot pay that, or you do that in your own space and you realize that you are pricing yourself either too high or too low. So I can only speak to anyone who wants to practice in Nigeria, who is perhaps looking to practice in spaces where I have experience in, and I could tell you, yeah, if you're going to this organization, this is the price you should go for. If you're going to this organization, fix this price. That will be my advice on that.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that answer. We have two hands that are raised. I'm going to start with iPhone. I cannot read the name. Then we're going to move to DTM Paul Abe. iPhone, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thanks. My sincere apologies. I should have renamed. My name is Oluwatosin. So I just wanted to ask distinguished Toastmaster Wiston, on the last slide on final thoughts, you had talked about serving well and to build evidence, meaning to build evidence, as I understand it, that you understand your onions. But how then do you build evidence when you're finding it very hard to actually find clients, right? You talked about, the hard way and the harder way. So I'm wondering how you go about building evidence when you don't even have the clients to actually work with. Secondly is also the fact that I know that the Toastmaster education program has, I can't put my mind to the exact name of that program, whereby you can be identified as someone that is proficient in this sector, and then Toastmasters International contacts you for maybe a job to go speak on a specific subject. So I don't know if we could actually, buttress on that as well to see how we can actually leverage that, right, as part of the trainings that are available on the Toastmasters International program. Thank you, and over.
Okay, so let me try to respond to the first question. The second question, I don't know if I am very competent or if I'm competent enough to answer that. I'm glad. I think I have seen our program quality director on the call, so she may be able to answer the one on the Toastmasters program. But building evidence, very valid question. Now, when we talk about building evidence, I think I have it on that slide. I mentioned there that you need to ask yourself, what kind of competence do I have? That's number one. Who will it benefit? That's number two. Sometimes, even the space within which you operate, it could be your own organization, it could be your club meeting, it could also be very well those of us who are in Abuja, your estate union or your church. Now, these are spaces that I consider safe. These are spaces where you could go offer that service that you have without necessarily expecting anything in return. That's how you build evidence. If you've served as a club president, you're telling someone outside that I was the president of my Toastmasters club, the person may not really understand what you mean. But if you say you've led a group of professionals from within, cut across 3 or 4 different sectors, and you were helping them develop competence in leadership and communication, it's about the phrasing of that. And I usually tell my people who come to me asking for advice, for every time you've delivered a training in your club meeting, as far as anyone is concerned, you've done a training. It's not until you do it outside and people are paying you. No, you are also building evidence from such gatherings. So show up to your club meeting with your A game, because you also don't know who in your club. I've gone to places to speak where I went there with my A game. I didn't know who was in the audience. Didn't get paid much. Months later, someone calls me and said, I was at this particular meeting where you came to talk to us. Can you please visit my office? There's a problem we have, and I think you may be able to solve it. The only evidence that person saw of me was that place I went to speak at almost no cost. So when we talk about building evidence, you don't have to go looking for paid clients. You could start building evidence with unpaid clients. You could start building evidence within your Toastmasters community. You could do that in your church. You could also do that with a group of friends. You just never know who's watching and who will take that evidence to the bank on your behalf.
Thank you. Excellent. So we're going to go faster now because we now running after time. Please go straight to your question, DTM Paul Abe. Then we're going to take, I think I had 2 or 3 people that wanted to ask question. DTM Paul Abe, we listen to you.
Morgan,
Apologies.
very insightful class. I'm afraid because with this dog now, how will I ask the question? I'm scared. The dog is stressing me. I don't know what to say. But all said and done, sir. You see, the issue of monetizing, you said something about more or less like knowing your client and know the locals, as it were. For me, just a contribution and more like an observation too. You can start from where we are and appreciate the money that is not even there, but you are building on referral. And that can make you a profound facilitator in the process, and you can get into the class of consultancy. Thank you, sir. Just a contribution.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank
Then
you
we're
very
going to
much.
take Nobudo, then Kachi, then Fumi, in that order, please. Straight to the point. Let's go, sir. Nobudo. Yes, sir. Can you hear me? Nobodo Arize Chukwu? Can you hear us? No? Okay. Kachi?
Okay, I can hear
Okay,
you.
Nobodo. Okay, yeah. Go ahead, please.
Okay, my question is regarding learning. Good evening, DTM Winston. I hope you can hear me. My question is
Yes, I can hear you,
regarding,
sir.
okay, my question is regarding when you said there's a hard way to learn and the easier way is to learn through a mentor. So I want to ask, in a case whereby I decided to develop a skill through the online, maybe I got tutorials online, and I was able to build my skills through that platform, but I didn't do it through a mentor. How do I pivot? How do I start considering the fact that I'm having this kind of, let me say, an imposter syndrome because I did not have a lead to follow, and there's no way I can find a proper physical mentor. So how do I start my journey? Thank you.
So I think when we talk about mentor, I don't, it's not a towering figure up there or some hard to reach person. It could actually be you sitting somewhere and just watching someone do what you're doing. And then you walk up to the person to find out more about the person, what the person is doing, how the person started. And then you know that, okay, this person is doing this. And the person may be willing to share some tips on how you could get better. So I think that's the first. Let's demystify when we talk about getting a mentor, it's not walking to a Tony Elumelu or a very high placed person. It could be you attending a training and just watching another trainer, and you believe that this person is really good at this thing. And you walk up to the person. I mean, I get that a lot. You go to a class to speak, or you're speaking somewhere, and someone comes to you and tells you, "Oh, I like what you're doing. It's something I've been thinking about doing. Can we work together?" That's one. The second thing with mentorship is that it's a two-way street. So very often we have people who, when you talk about a mentor, some people just assume, it's this person who has all the person has. I don't have anything to offer the person. That's also where you get it wrong. Because I've also had people who have come to me and I've also gone to people to say, okay, I want you to mentor me, but I also go with value. So that also makes me an important asset to whoever has accepted to mentor me. And those who I mentor who come with value are the people who have greater there are people who I place greater value on because I know that it's a two-way street as opposed to someone who is just coming to collect, but I'm not getting anything in return. So understanding that it's a two-way street and you have something to offer, you've done online courses, you've learned something, you just never know. There could be something that person that you're watching who feels like he's really good. There may be something that person is struggling with that you have. So walking up to that person and having a conversation, you may find that you can be of great help to the person. And it would not be a disadvantaged relationship as you think. It could actually be a mutually beneficial relationship of two equals. So these are my thoughts around that. Irrespective of all the things you've learned, attend some sessions, meet people, walk up to them, start having conversations, and you may find that the person could actually want to exchange value with you.
Great. Kachi, can we have your question, please?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, and thank you, DTM Winston, for this masterclass. My question has to do with niching down. What advice would you give to some of us that have worked across multiple sectors and probably picked up, different competencies along the way, and we want to be known for something or play to our strength, but now wondering what is really that strength? What advice would you give to people like us? Thank you.
Thank you. So I think the advice I will give is what I gave myself some time ago, and that is I will follow the money. So you may have a lot of competencies, but you look very well and study the market and engage with people who are in that space. They will tell you where the money is. Once upon a time, I thought that all I knew how to do was do leadership training, do trainings around communication. But there's a limit to how much you can price communication and leadership training compared to some other kinds of engagements. And when I realized that those engagements paid more, when I have leadership and communication, yes, I take some of them and sometimes I just give them to some other person because I have something else in mind. And in some cases, I would be very selective on the kinds of places I will go and give such training. So my advice would be follow the money.
Great advice. Follow the money. That's very good. So we have the last question, Fumi Omotoso. Can we have your question, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, for yielding the virtual spotlights to me. Toastmaster Winston Apotu, DTM, I would like to say a very big thank you for this beautiful session that you've given us free of charge. I remember that I've attended 1 or 2 trainings along this path in the past, and I paid something very substantial for it. And thank you for doing this for free. I need some clarification. I will start with a request. Please kindly make these slides available to us after this session. We can share with the TLI chair so that we can have a way of sending it to all the divisions and we can get it. That's a request. Then secondly, I heard you advise that we ask ourselves, what kind of competencies do I have? And then go ahead and help others build the same competencies as a trainer, as a consultant. But my question is, what is the role of instincts in determining the specific niche you have for yourself as a trainer and consultant? I heard you say follow the money. Good, we'll follow the money. But is there any God-given instincts inside you, your heart knowing the answer? Or is there any way you say, oh, I'm so talented in this thing? Are there other things, natural things, apart from following the money and just trying to help other people develop competences that help you in getting this done to become a successful trainer and consultant? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, man. So let me just make a clarification. I did mention that you should identify your competencies. And what I didn't say is that you should help people help people develop those competencies or help share those competencies? No. Use your competencies to solve a problem. So identify your competence, identify a problem that someone has, and use those competencies or that competence to solve a problem. Now, having said that, yes, there is the God-given instinct. Now, that depends largely on your faith level, religious inclination. So there is also very strongly a place of faith in all of these. There is a place of your relationship with what it is you believe in. And that has a huge, huge, huge role and huge part to play. And for me, that is something that has worked for me immensely. I've had a lot of persons ask me severally, you don't do any adverts. Sometimes I'm out of the country, someone calls and I'm out of the country. What are you doing? I'm doing something. How come nobody knows what you're doing? You don't update your WhatsApp status. I said, one, my customers are not looking for WhatsApp status or looking for an Instagram post to engage me to go do a training for them in London or in the US or in Kenya or in Rwanda. So I have known how I get my clients. And sometimes we use some kinds of methods you don't find in textbooks. And those are methods that come to you in the dead of the night when you are praying or when you are thinking and just meditating on what it is you believe in. So my take or what I'll say is, yes, there is a very, very great part for instinct. We do our best to say that to people who believe in what it is we believe in. But I'm also careful because I know people have different things they believe in. So some people would call it instinct, some people would call it faith, some people would call it their relationship with God, and some of us call it the Holy Spirit, but there is that thing that nudges you sometimes to say, okay, go this way, call this person. Sometimes you wake up in the morning and you just feel the need to visit someone. And you walk into the person's office and the person tells you, I've been thinking of calling you. There's this training we're supposed to even do in this country. Can you put a proposal together? You didn't have to do any advert or put up any post on any place to do that. So I'd say, yes, ma'am, there is a place for that. And if it's something that you believe in, just test to be sure that it is also what is speaking to you, that it has worked for you in the past. A pastor friend of mine once said, before you say God is speaking to you, test 3 things that happened in your past life that you said God spoke to you about. See how they turned out so you can know if truly the voice you were listening to was the voice of God or just your fears speaking to you or some motivational speech you heard. So
Excellent. Excellent. Wonderful, wonderful. Can we please clap again? Can we send some emojis for DTM Winston? That was a great masterclass, great conversation. We really learned a lot. I think that now you can turn your knowledge. And I think that just go back to the 72. You talked about the 72 hours challenge. That was suggested to us. Let's go to the 72 hours challenge and let's try to do that. It's already 9 p.m., 1 minute past 9 p.m. We're already above the time. Thank you so much, DTM Winston. That was a very interesting presentation. And I think many people are asking for the presentation. I hope they can maybe have it and then read it later, get inspiration from that. And so we're going to close this great session, and I'm going to get back to the TLI office, and I'm going to call now, je vais appeler maintenant Rose Moncho Adjala de l'équipe TLI, qui va clôturer cette belle session que nous avons eue ce soir. On a appris comment transformer nos compétences en argent. Il y a également le challenge des 72 heures. Si vous avez bien compris ce que c'est, s'il vous plaît, retournez à cela. Parlez à des personnes, allez vers des personnes pendant 72 heures. Voyez les compétences que vous avez, comment vous pouvez les partager, comment vous pouvez les vendre à des personnes. Je passe donc la parole pour terminer à la TM Rose Moncho Adjala, qui va donc clôturer cette session. Je suis Thierry Lobet, j'ai été très heureux d'avoir été votre hôte ce soir et je vous dis à très bientôt. Bonne soirée à tout le monde. Chère Rose Adjala, c'est à vous la parole.
Merci beaucoup, cher modérateur, chers distingués Toastmasters, chers leaders, chers participants. Je ne pourrai malheureusement pas ouvrir ma caméra. Veuillez bien m'en excuser. Nous voici donc arrivés au terme de cette deuxième session de masterclass de TLI District 130. Ce fut donc un réel plaisir de partager avec vous cette session consacrée à un thème particulièrement pertinent. Devenir consultant ou formateur professionnel, savoir donc structurer son offre et trouver ses premiers clients. Au nom de Toastmasters Leadership Institute, je voudrais tout d'abord adresser mes sincères remerciements à notre formidable formateur, le DTM Winston Okpotu, pour la qualité de son intervention, pour son expertise, pour son partage d'expérience et surtout pour les outils concrets qu'il nous a transmis. Je voudrais également très chaleureusement remercier toute l'équipe TLI qui œuvre dans l'ombre et avec beaucoup d'engagement pour concevoir, organiser et faire vivre ces différentes sessions de formation. Une mention spéciale va également à nos points focaux TLI, les différentes divisions, qui constituent un véritable relais avec TLI et les clubs. Et bien entendu, merci à vous, chers participants, pour votre présence, votre attention, vos questions et votre engagement. Et avant de nous séparer, je voudrais vous inviter à prendre quelques instants pour remplir le formulaire de sondage qui a été partagé dans le chat. Vos impressions, vos suggestions et vos recommandations sont précieuses pour nous permettre d'améliorer continuellement nos sessions TLI. Je voudrais aussi profiter pour vous rappeler notre prochain rendez-vous After Work. Ce sera le 24 août prochain et cela portera sur le thème renouvellement des cotisations idées et astuces pour mobiliser et fidéliser vos membres. Je voudrais rappeler que ce thème fait partie des thèmes les plus demandés lors du sondage d'études de base que nous avons organisé au début de la mandature. Sur ce, je déclare officiellement clôturée cette deuxième masterclass de T-Online du district 130. Je vous remercie. Bonne soirée à chacun et à tous.